People of YouTube, this is Gavarok. Before this starts, I thought I'd record a quick message to my older YouTube viewers from back in the day when I uploaded Let's Plays, in case you happen to catch this and are wondering what's been going on. First of all, hi! Been a while. Second of all, I'm sorry to say that no, right now I have no intention of uploading any new Let's Play videos. That's not to say I'll never do it again, just that it's not on the table right now. Instead, I'll be using this channel to upload episodes of my new endeavour, the Raisin Voices podcast, a show where I speak to voice actors from video games, animation, pretty much anybody, so long as they're involved in voiceover work. I started this a while back on Libsyn, and am now bringing it over to YouTube as a secondary place for people to catch the episodes. As of right now, only 2 have been released. The one you're about to listen to with Danielle McRae, who's been in League of Legends, Skullgirls, World of Warcraft, and a number of other things. And episode 2, which will be uploaded straight after this one, featuring Tom Taylorson, who's going to be heard by millions of gamers in a few months as the male player character in Mass Effect Andromeda. I know. Bloody exciting. Both shows were great fun to record, and I hope to make plenty more with tons of awesome people. They'll be available here, but also in MP3 form at my Libsyn website and on iTunes. Now, if you want to stay updated, the show has a Facebook page, and I also use Twitter a whole bunch these days under the handle, you guessed it, Gavarok. All of the links to the things I just mentioned will be in the description below, if you can move your eyes down and read. I'm sure you'll manage. So that's about all I wanted to say. I'll shut up now and you can listen to the first ever episode of Raisin Voices, which starts with me talking, so I guess I'm not going to shut up after all. Hope you enjoy! Welcome folks, one and all, to the first ever episode of the Raisin Voices podcast, a show where I speak to voice actors from all corners of the industry about the very best parts of their job. And since this is a brand new show, I figure I should take a moment to introduce both myself and the show you're listening to. My name is Matthew Hocking, your host, and by day I'm a writing student from Melbourne, Australia. By night I'm, well, asleep, mostly, but on occasion I dabble in the online voice acting world, mostly as a hobbyist. Recently I've done a little work for Pendant Productions. They're an audio drama company. I've written a short fantasy script for their anthology show Seminar. Anyone can submit to that, 3 to 15 page script. It's a great way to get your writing out there if you're interested in that sort of thing. And I've also acted in some of their Shakespeare audio dramas. Now, the idea for this show came about thanks to Twitter and all of the buzz surrounding the less than wonderful events that have been happening lately. We all know what's been going on in the world, no need to get into that. But specific to voice acting, there's of course the SAG-AFTRA strike and all of the struggles and issues associated with that. There's a lot of bad floating around these days, but there's a lot of good too. And what I've been seeing online from voice actors and from those who follow them is a massive influx of positive affirmations, declarations of support, goodwill, all that sort of thing. This community is something special, I think, and I can see why, because the entertainers at the centre of it are by and large among the nicest people in the business. Voice actors are not only supremely talented, but they're almost unanimously kind-hearted, enthusiastic, down-to-earth folks who deserve every bit of admiration they get and more. So I'm starting up this show in the spirit of that positive attitude, in the spirit of fun and entertainment. We're going to be nerding out, we're going to be hearing awesome stories, and we're going to have a whole lot of fun, so I hope you'll join me and my awesome guests going forward. Now, speaking of awesome guests, it's time to introduce my very first, someone who's been making her mark on the anime and video game worlds over the last couple of years. Anime fans can find her in such shows as Magi, the Kingdom of Magic, and Sword Art Online. Gamers will likely recognize her as Painwheel from the fighting game Skullgirls, Karma from League of Legends, and Higara the Stormbinder from World of Warcraft Cataclysm. Most recently this year she was in the JRPG Mega Dimension Neptunia 7, and right now, this instant, she's on the other end of this Skype call. Danielle McRae, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Absolutely, glad to have you. I'd tell everyone to give it up, but there's no one here because this isn't live, so just pretend there's thunderous applause. Alright, so now obviously that's a very impressive list of credits. I could only scratch the surface, and you've worked with a number of pretty amazing companies like obviously Blizzard, Riot, and all that. Working for Blizzard back in, I think it was around 2010 or so, was that Cataclysm's year?
Yeah, I think Cataclysm was 2010, but I think I worked on that in 2011, 2012, something like that. It might have been 2011, but yeah.
So you were actually a raid boss in that, which I find quite interesting. how does that come about?
So before I booked that job, I auditioned for WoW about 4 times, and I didn't expect to get a job from that. But the 5th time, I had a friend who knew I liked World of Warcraft, and so they forwarded me an audition for what I thought was World of Warcraft. It went by a different name. It was like a different code name. It's called Fluffy something. I can't remember to this day.
Fluffy something.
Yeah, it went by a really weird code name. It was like Fluffy something. I think I still have the email, but I totally forgot what it was called again. I think they did that just to kind of cover all their bases and hope that nobody really talks about this kind of game. Because it's a little bit of a big thing, I guess.
Exactly. Well, that's obviously one of the big things that with a lot of video games, you get the really interesting code names, usually something like Delta or some other thing like that. So I like that they're a bit more creative in what they come up with there. So yeah, so Hagara was she was an orc, yes?
Yes, yeah, that's correct. She is an orc. But I got that job. I didn't know what it was. My sister played a lot of World of Warcraft, so usually stuff like that, I'm not supposed to tell anybody that I'm auditioning for stuff like this because it's like they have an NDA, it's not a disclosure agreement, they don't want to talk about anything. But I had a feeling that my sister kind of knew what this material would be, and she read through it, and she's like, yeah, it's World of Warcraft. So she kind of coached me through the whole audition, and I really thank her for helping me book this job, because she played a lot of WoW for about 6 years.
There'd be kind of an unwritten family rule with that, with NDAs.
Yeah.
Where it's just sort of, it's an under-the-table kind of, I'll just whisper it in your ear and it'll be fine. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So how much recording is it for that kind of role? I imagine most of it would be screaming and shouting in battle.
Oh, yeah. Well, stuff like that for WoW, it took about 2 days. It would have taken about a day, but they split it up into 2 sessions since both sessions were like 4 hours each. But the first session, it was just her yelling and screaming, and the second was the same. The second session was the same, but I lost my voice completely. So we had to kind of stop recording like after the first day for the first 2 days, and then like my voice came back and I had to come in and like record the rest of all the dialogue for her. So that was fun.
Yeah, I can imagine. They say it's up to 3-4 hours. They say they let you do with those intense sessions.
Yeah, it's about 3 or 4 hours. I think I had one intense session that lasted for about 2 hours, but I think that's our ideal. Our ideal for voice actors for this whole performance matters thing is it would be nice if we had like 2 hours for these very stressful sessions, because it takes a toll on your voice and it's just very exhausting. And you feel like after you're done like coming out of the booth, you feel like you just came from the gym. Like 4 hours, it's crazy.
Yeah, and that is one thing that some folks who, of course, wouldn't have any familiarity with this kind of struggle to understand, because it does take a lot out of you just being in the same spot, and especially when you're screaming and shouting, because like there is some physicality to it as well. From then, I think you got the role of Painwheel in Skullgirls not long after that.
Yeah, it was about like a month later, and on Halloween, I found out
That's
from my friend Christina V. Yeah, because I was actually going to joke around and like try adult trick-or-treating with my sister and a friend, just to see if it would work, and then I get a call before we leave the house from Christina saying, yeah, you booked the role for Painwheel, and it was like on Halloween. So I didn't even care if I got like candy or not that day.
Now, Painwheel, I looked up Painwheel, and I gotta say, she is terrifying. Fighting games, I will admit, are not... mostly I'm just really terrible at them, so it's a game that I never quite got into, but yeah, just listening to that record, there was a voice reel of Painwheel, and that doesn't sound like it was a lot of fun, yet I imagine it was.
Yeah, well, it was both a lot of fun and at the same time, it was like a labor of love project, so I sacrificed...
Absolutely.
Everything. Like, my voice was gone for about a couple of weeks. I sacrificed my sanity and I sacrificed my voice, and it's a lot of fun because before I auditioned for that character, I really wanted to get into Skullgirls, and I just wanted to get into a fighting game, and I pretty much just said, it's worth it. Let's just throw everything out in the wind, all the caution goes out in the wind, and I'll just sacrifice my voice for the sake of entertainment.
So, Skullgirls, of course, had 3 versions, like updates to the game rather than necessarily new stuff. So did you get to come back to record for the first Encore and second Encore releases, or was it mostly for you at least? Just did they use what they already had?
Well, I came back for multiple sessions for that game. We did a lot of I think second Encore was the game that had a lot of the DLC voice pack content. So they had me back for Valley Girl Pain Wheel for that one, but that was due to, I think that was for a charity, and a lot of the voice actors for Skullgirls thought, wouldn't it be cool if we reached like this amount of money in this donation, we should just donate our voices for these voice packs for this game. And it was supposed to be a joke, and then the team of Lab Zero said, maybe that's a good idea. We'll just go and like record these separate voices and put it in this patch, and came in for that, for Valley Girl Pain Wheel. And then when I found out that the whole game was going to be completely recorded, like the story and everything, that was really cool. But I knew my voice was going to die again, but that was really cool.
Pain Wheel, looking up her story, she seems kind of like the Wolverine of the bunch with all the experiments had upon her. What sort of what process did you go through trying to get into the zone for Pain Wheel? What did you draw on for that character?
Oh, so that's a good question, because when I auditioned for that game, I had 3 different inspirational figures I thought of. I thought of the Splicers from BioShock, and then I thought of Bane from the Batman series, and then I actually thought about Wolverine and X-23 from the X-Men series. So I had all 3 of those, because they wanted her to sound very animalistic. So my first thought was Logan or Wolverine, and then it went to just other places.
Yeah, and X-23 is a good one to use for that as well. I'm not as familiar with her. I believe she was in X-Men Evolution for a bit, though. That series I loved.
Oh, yes. I love that show.
Right, so this year, obviously, we had Mega Dimension Neptunia. It was Neptunia 7, but it's not the 7th game in the series. Is the number a reference to, like, Final Fantasy 7 or something? I know that your character in that was kind of based on Square Enix in a way.
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah, and so there's the 4, I believe 4 sisters, and I quite liked when I was reading the trivia section. I think it was on the wiki. I'm trying to rack my brain as to where I read this, but it amused me. It said, in trivia for your character, yours was the only one of those sisters based on a company that has not recently fallen out of favor with the fan base.
You know what? I read that on Wikipedia. I think, the Neptunia wiki. I was just bored one day and I read that, and I'm like, someone did not put that. Who put that there?
Obviously a bit of fan. Like, I can understand, because I believe one of the others was Konami. That's, yes, there's some stuff that can be said about that company, but they weren't all bad.
That's true. Yeah, it's very true.
I don't think there's any issue with that. Yeah. Now, so she is Esha. Is it Esha or Esha?
Esha.
Yeah. And there was an Isha as well. I don't know if I'm hitting on spoiler territory here. It's a series, like, I'm a JRPG fan, but I'm not so great at the super long commitments. Like, I'm an old school kind of Final Fantasy person, and it's hard to get into a new series with like 4 games down, because my perfectionist nature is such that I have to play the first one first. It's the same reason why I have trouble. I want to get into Persona, but I also don't want to sign away 6 months of my life.
No, I feel you right there. That's how I felt with Mass Effect. Like, I had to play the first one before I played the third one. So I played the first one, second, and third. So it's kind of like I want to get the whole story.
Mass Effect was my great pain back in the years of 2010, 2011. I was still in high school at the time, and I really wanted to play Mass Effect, but I was a PlayStation person. And of course, back then, Mass Effect 1 never came out on the PlayStation. It has now. But it was get it on PC, which I tried. I found a $10 copy of Mass Effect for the PC once. It was like my 16-year-old self was so jazzed, and then it didn't install. I bought it from some shady place that I couldn't quite well, by shade, I mean it was just like a second-hand place, but it was like far out from me, and I couldn't go back and return it. And I was like, well, I'm glad this was cheap, but I'm really bummed now. And so the ordeal of trying to play Mass Effect for me was like, it sounds silly now, but at the time it was really serious stuff. And so eventually I found a working copy, and then was able to play 2 and 3 on my PlayStation. And that series, like, I'd had Knights of the Old Republic from BioWare, but they blew me away with that one.
Yeah, and plus they had a great array of characters in those games too. It was really, really good.
Yeah, just in terms of storytelling in games, like, that was a watershed moment. Obviously, there's been there's been good ones before and since, but BioWare, along with Telltale, are definitely among my big three. BioWare, Telltale, and have you heard of a developer called Wadget Eye?
No, I haven't. But I did notice you said Telltale, and I'm like, I love them a lot. I love Telltale.
How much of Telltale have you played?
I played the first thing I played though. I'm kind of a recent Telltale fan, so I started off with the first season of The Walking Dead. I played the demo of that, and I was like, I love the art style, and for some reason I didn't want to buy it right away. And then my sister going back to my sister, she kind of said, I like the demo, you should go buy the game. And so I waited for all the episodes to come out. And then,
smart.
Yes. Because I think, when it came to the second season, I couldn't wait, so I got them one at a time. So when the next episode came out, I was like, okay, I'll just suffer for who knows how many months and days and just buy the next episode, which was the worst idea ever.
Yep. What are you going to do with season 3? So people are saying it's a couple of weeks away.
Oh my god. I don't know yet, because I also just got Batman, Telltale's Batman. I was going to wait until that whole series came out, and then I got day one, first episode came out, and then I just started getting them episode after episode, and I've been suffering. So I might just have to wait until all the episodes come out for season 3, because that hurts, just waiting for the episodes.
It so does. I suffered through that. I suffered through it with Tales from the Borderlands and Game of Thrones, which is good, because Walking Dead would have been a lot harder, I feel. I got lucky with Walking Dead in that I started on season 1 of The Walking Dead a week before the last episode came out, which lined up perfectly, and then season 2 I managed to make myself wait. Yeah, it is kind of... It's once you've started, you're stuck, but if you can distract yourself with other things and put it out of your mind until it's finished, I like their episode system, I do. It's very good once it's all out there, but it is so frustrating when you're waiting.
It's so hard, just waiting for that next episode.
But at the same time, it's I guess it gives them the flexibility to, get their stuff out there and bring in a lot of fans, because that level of hype that I guess TV shows use is quite useful in a fan base, and I do like the the forum speculation stuff when I am following episode to episode. That does make it a much more exciting experience, but it doesn't make up for all the pain and anger of waiting.
Yes, so true.
Did you hear about what they're saying about Telltale's Marvel project?
No, I haven't heard anything.
Okay.
And wow, I haven't heard
I have a bit of a cool story here that is... I may be wrong about this, but I think I accidentally helped break news. Because... Well, no, I'll... Okay. They started talking about a Marvel project, I think, back in 2014, start of 2015. I don't know exactly. But all they said was, we're working on a Marvel project due to drop in 2017. And then they shut up about it completely and haven't said a word since. Now, this actually relates to the SAG-AFTRA strike, because a website called, I think it was Warped Zone, I don't know, reported on November the 1st that SAG-AFTRA had released a list, just a small list of games not affected by the strike that were releasing soon, and it was mostly under code names. But in this article that they'd posted about, there were 2 games listed under a company called, I think, O'Farrell Entertainment. One of them was The Walking Dead Season 3 A New Frontier, which is the confirmed Telltale Walking Dead game. The other one was Guardians of the Galaxy, the video game.
Whoa.
And so it is not confirmed, but those two together, like, I mean, the production company is the same. Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be Telltale for both, but it's pretty convincing. And so I found that one article about 3 or 4 days ago. I found that article. I don't know how. Just a random Google search, and I thought, "Oh, that's interesting." So I posted it on the Telltale Reddit and just said, "Hey, guys, look at this." And then 2 days later, every news site is sharing this same thing. I can't prove it, but I think I caused that because beforehand it was one site and no other buzz. But literally within 24 hours of me putting it on the Telltale Reddit, IGN's posting about it, GameSpot's posting about it, everything's posting about it, and so I kind of want to, even though I'm more of a middleman, I kind of want to take credit for that.
Hey, I mean, hey, why not?
Right, so I do want to ask you about a game that you're not in, but I have heard that you're, have a bit of a passing familiarity with. Just you're slightly fond of it. Mm-hmm. What's it called? It's this little known Blizzard title that dropped this year, something like Underlook or something.
I think it was like. Oh, I thought it was like Overcloak or something. Yeah.
It's look. Not many people are talking about it, so we should probably give it some much needed publicity. No.
Oh yeah.
Obviously, Overwatch has dominated the world this year, and I am looking on in envy. I intend to pick it up because I'm not entirely sure. The big question for me is, will my computer run it? I do not know, but I intend to find out this weekend because I believe it's free. But I've heard quite a bit about you and Overwatch, mostly from your posts on Twitter and such. Tell me about your love affair with Overwatch.
Okay, so Overwatch is a game that I never thought I'd ever get into, let alone get addicted to.
Yeah.
This is the first Blizzard game I've actually played seriously, because after watching my sister play a lot of World of Warcraft, I'm like, if every Blizzard game is like this, I'm not going to play. But something about this game, I actually found out about this from a convention. So I went to an anime con, and I went to their game room, like I always do. I go to every con's game room because I love video games. And I saw this game playing, Overwatch playing. And I was like, this game looks really cool. Like, what is this? Oh, it's that Overwatch game. I don't know if I should play it. So I played, like, a couple of matches, and then that turned into, like, 5 to 10 to 15. And then I instantly bought it. And I got addicted, and that's kind of how the whole hype train started.
To the point where I believe you podcast about Overwatch?
Yes, I do. So my BFF in crime, her name is Erin Fitzgerald, and she's just done a lot of video game voice acting and anime voice acting, like League of Legends, Persona 4, and a whole bunch of stuff.
Absolutely.
We decided to come together and make this podcast called Waifus of Overwatch, so we pretty much talk about who our waifus and our husbandos are of this game, who we like to play with, who we love, and who we ship. And we've brought on a couple of voice actors of the game already to interview. Like, we have the voice of Reinhardt, we have the voice of Torbjorn, and we have some more stuff coming, and yeah, it came from just us being addicted to this game.
Sounds like a lot of fun. I did check out the podcast, but I'm thinking, this sounds really interesting if I knew what the hell they were talking about. I look forward to knowing what the hell you're talking about. I imagine I will know what the hell you're talking about in a little while. So when I do, I will definitely tune in. And for now, anyone listening to this who is into Overwatch should definitely tune in. And it sounds like an excellent place to find, especially, like, I'd imagine in terms of, interviewing the voice actors, obviously you'd have the hookup there, because...
yeah, I got like a few of them, but hey, they're really, really
Absolutely.
cool people.
Now, in all of my dealings with you, you've been amazing, and all of my dealings with the other voice actors that I've met through, and I'll get onto that as my next topic, through the forum, the online forums where you started and all that. Everyone does seem to be fairly, decent and fundamentally, supportive and all those good things, which is a bit of a difference from the on-camera industry, where it's a bit of a toss-up as to what sort of person you'll get. Mostly, I would imagine, due to the ego thing.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Which, I mean, not as if to say there's absolutely no ego in voice acting. There's ego everywhere in every industry. But the perks of voice acting is, I'd imagine, like appearance and little physical aspects and little things like that don't get in the way of pursuing roles. If you can play the character, if you can, get it through your acting, then that's all you need in this, which makes it a lot not less competitive, but I guess it takes away the opportunity for mean-spiritedness that can kind of arise.
Yeah, and it just feels a lot more freeing too, just because the directors that you're working with, they aren't focused on what you look like. Yeah. They're focused on what you can kind of bring to the table. And this industry, I've noticed it's very giving. Like, they're really good. The voice actors I've come across, like Steve Bloom and Jennifer Hale, they're very giving people. So it's like when they find an opportunity that they can't really do, like an audition that they can't really do, they'll like forward it to someone who they think can possibly do it. So it's beautiful.
Yeah, and that's amazing. That practice, I guess that's kind of like an honor-based practice there, which would keep everybody humble. Because if everyone does that, if everyone's is willing to look at themselves and at other people and say, you know what, I can do this pretty well, but this person could do it even better, and not find that as a a challenge maybe, but not find that as like an insult or a kind of I have to be better than this person sort of thing. That's very valuable, and that makes it a much nicer place to work in. So
exactly,
that's one of the reasons why I'm doing the show is because I very much admire that, and I think it means that there's a lot of good people to talk to. So let's move on to, because I mentioned before, sort of amateur voice forums, which I was a part of and still pretty much am. And you, I believe you sort of, did you get your start there in places like Voice Acting Alliance and the like?
Since I was a kid, I was really interested in voice acting. But fast forward to me graduating high school, I wanted to try and find a way to do this professionally. Or if I couldn't do that, I wanted to find ways to do it online for fun. And I went to a site called DeviantArt. And there's this one artist who they wanted to make their own, like, I didn't know what they wanted to do, like an audio drama or something. They wanted to make up their own story of Mega Man. And he had this one Mega Man character that they wanted to have people audition for as their original creation. And I auditioned for them, and they're like, yeah, you're really good. I don't know if you should audition for this. And I'm like, why? I said, because you might be a little too good. And I'm like, but I still want to audition. I really want to do that. I want to, like, book the part. It's like, no, but you should go to this site called the Voice Acting Alliance.
Wait.
And
just
there,
you got you're overqualified for this in amateur voice acting. Doesn't that normally happen to you when you're meant to get paid for things?
Yeah, I mean, like, I was like, I just want to, like, just take a chance and voice something for the first time. Like, it doesn't matter what it is. And he's like, no, I'll forward you to the BAA. You should go there. There's some really good stuff. And it's like, I still want to, like, work on your project with you. That'd be cool. It's like, no, you should go to this site. So that's kind of a weird transition, going from an audition, kind of a happenstance audition, from DeviantArt, and then just being led to the BAA.
Yeah.
So that's how all that happened.
That's amazing. I mean, that came out of a place of humility, obviously, from that person. Like, they were. It's almost like they were intimidated.
Yeah, it's like I felt so awkward. Well, I kept following up with them to see if he found an actor, and he's like, "Oh, well, not yet, but soon." Like, you sure you don't want me to, like, voice? It's like, no, you should just stay on the BAA. It's like, I'm here, I could totally do this, and it was a free project too. So I was like, I can do this. It's totally cool. And so I kept following up with them until he found an actor.
Well, thank God for that.
So
yeah,
weird. That was really weird.
I get, and then if he's willing to accept that actor, what does that say about?
Yeah.
Like, if he keeps finding, really good people, then just what? Is he just going to keep, sending them up? Well, now, Voice Acting Alliance, VAA, is, I think it's... Because it's the one I found in 2009. Now, I'm not an expert of all of these communities by any means, because I know there's a bunch of places you can go to now, like behind the voice actors and such, but VAA seems to be one of the oldest and biggest, from what I can tell.
Oh, yeah.
So I came into it in early 2009. I was quite young, and I will say about the place, it is kind of intimidating. Like, it was then, and I'd imagine it would be now, because of how big it is. And so I wouldn't call it the best place necessarily to find friends and to find community, but it is a good place to find auditions and to find casting calls. Admittedly, that it's a toss-up as to whether projects at that level get made or not, but everything you do, I like to think, is practice, whether it's an audition that you don't get or an audition that you do get for a project that peters out and doesn't amount to anything. No matter what it is, if you're, getting into voice acting either as a I want to do this for fun level or I want to make a career out of this, anything that you get on VAA is good practice and will help you start to set your stuff up and learn the ins and outs. But I would definitely recommend joining a smaller community where there's a lot more stuff on a personal level and you can make friends with the same interests. Were you a part of Voice Hollywood or Vocal Loco?
I had an account with Vocal Loco. I did a few things there, but I wasn't super active. I was mostly there just to support the actors coming on. So I was pretty much there for support, but I was mostly active on the Voice Acting Alliance and a little bit on the Voice Acting Club.
Ah, yeah, that one I missed. I vaguely recall Club, but I don't think I ever joined it. Was that smaller than VAA, or was it?
I think that was a bit smaller, but I kept hearing rumors on the Voice Acting Club was started up before the VAA, but I'm not too sure about the whole history there. But it seemed a lot smaller. It seemed a lot more. I felt like it was more close knit.
Yeah.
VAA just had a lot of people, and that was really cool. But it just felt like it was very welcoming, and there were some cliques. But it was great practice. Met a lot of really good friends out of it. That was really cool.
When you were on there and when I was on there is different to how it is now, so it's kind of hard for us to tell you what to expect if you were to join VAA today, as to whether you'd find a group that's welcoming and or whether it would be difficult. But I will recommend to anyone who is interested in these sorts of places, Vocal Loco is... it's been around for a couple of years now, and it is a smaller community, but because of that, it's very easy to get to know people and to get involved and to make some very good friends. I know many people who are active on that forum or who have been and who are just a joy to talk to and to work with. It may look, if you were to join it, as though it's not particularly active, but don't be fooled by this, the message board. The thing about these communities is they all have a very active Skype culture, I guess you could say. So all of the members will be active on Skype and collaborating on there and talking on there. So what you see on the message boards for these sort of places is really just the tip of the iceberg. The message boards is where you congregate, where you introduce yourself, and where all of the stuff that is put together goes. But a lot of the socializing I find in these places actually takes place on Skype.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so how much do you owe places like VAA for getting you ready to start working professionally and getting you the practice that you needed back when you were starting out?
I owe so much to the VAA because it helped me, because I was taking a lot of acting classes while I was doing a lot of projects, original projects and fan dubs, and that was really good practice.
Yes.
And it also helped me to kind of break down my barriers, because that was when I was super shy and I wouldn't really talk to anybody without feeling like, oh, they're going to judge me by saying hi to them. And that helped me break down a lot of barriers. I stopped being shy because that place gave me a lot of confidence. And with my acting skill, it made me just want to kind of start off from doing it for fun to trying to do it professionally. So I owe everything to the VAA. They're really, really cool people, really cool place. Yeah.
It's certainly the best way to dip your toes into it at this point, I would say, because, obviously taking acting classes and such is, a financial commitment and all that. So if it's something that you are starting to think about, if it's something that you want to test out, definitely join an online forum. There's no pressure there, which is what's good. Well, there's no pressure there technically. This is the internet. Anything you put out onto the internet technically stays there forever. But, it's in a back corner of the internet where no one's going to look unless you show them. So it's fine.
Yeah.
I know that if people were to look up my internet history, they'll find all sorts of embarrassing things. But I'm willing to own that. I'm willing to... well...
Yeah, I have my skeletons too.
Yeah. This day and age, I think our generation and all those that come after us will just have to put up with that, because there is no such thing. There is no such thing as a young person on the internet who knows what they're doing. It's just...
It's like, how do I internet? I think that's the biggest question. Like, how do I internet?
I'm thinking back to my early days, my first forum. It is dead now, and that is one thing that was good about the earlier days of the internet, is things did actually die online. They don't now, technically. You put something on YouTube and 1,000 weird bootleg copy YouTube sites will have it within 24 hours. But back in those days, if something went offline, it went offline. And I feel like I was born at the perfect time for the internet, because all of that stuff can be swept under rug. Whereas, my cousin who's 10 years old has a Facebook page, and I'm like, I would not do that. I would not have. I don't know. But by the time I have a 10-year-old, maybe they have Facebook pages in their infancy. I don't know. The internet does kind of scare me in terms of where it is these days.
Yes, because it just feels like it's just advancing as each day passes. Just feels like something else is happening to it, or it's getting some sort of upgrade or something.
Yeah, and even I'm curious about the Twitter situation, because a lot of people are saying that Twitter is dying.
Really?
Well, apparently they're losing a lot of money. It makes sense when you think about it, because Facebook is on the personal level, the social network, but Twitter, I find, has morphed from being just a place where people chat to kind of like the network where popular folks and folks in the public eye interact with their fellowship, essentially. Because, when you're someone without anything to be followed, you would go on Facebook to talk to your friends. Whereas, voice actors like yourself, you've got your or any other kind of role in which you amass people following you. Then Twitter is very useful, because you can talk to people more easily, and get messages sent and reply very very quickly. And it does seem like the perfect place for that kind of connection. But whatever state they're in, Twitter is not making much money off of that. Like they're just the Vine announcement a couple of weeks back that Vine is going down very shortly is one symptom of that, and a lot of people are saying, Twitter might be on the way out. I find it very interesting, because something else is going to take its place if that happens.
Yeah.
Like, it's not guaranteed that Twitter will go away, but if it does, I reckon something will have to arise that is similarly suited for, folks in public figures, I guess, to speak to their fans and vice versa. Alright, so just a couple of quick, almost bonus questions, I guess. First off, are there any cool stories you have from conventions or with fans? Any interesting things that have happened to you as a result of your voice acting career with the community that pop into your head?
I think anytime somebody asks me to if someone can't, a friend of somebody's that come up to me, they can't make it to a con, they'll have me call them on their phone in that character's voice. That is something that I don't think I'll ever get used to, because I feel like if I make someone cry accidentally with the voices, like, I feel really bad. Like, it's just, I don't know, that's something I can never forget, because it's like, please don't cry, please don't cry. And I'll even say that in the character's voice, and it doesn't make anything better. But that's something, definitely, that I can't forget.
Wait, cry because they're excited?
Well, yeah, they're excited, or, like, if it's, like, their favorite character, I've noticed, like, they'll just kind of cry out of, like, excitement. And, like, oh my gosh, I'm hearing my character. Pretty much like that, and it's kind of surreal, because I used to be like that. I still am like that. Where, like, if someone calls me on the phone, and it's a friend of mine trying to get me to listen to a voice actor calling me on the phone, like a certain voice actor for a character, I will do that, so I can kind of understand. I don't know. It's
right.
Very
yeah. No, I call that
weird.
like it's like the hierarchy of or the circle of fanboying and fangirling, because you're in a position now where there's people who would hear the voice of Painwheel or the voice of Karma and would just lose their minds, and that's amazing. But like anyone else, would have, of course, tons of characters where if you got to meet the person behind them, you would lose your mind. And of course, it's interesting for you because I imagine you'll run into folks like that, and to them you'll be someone else in the industry, a colleague, and to you they'll be a hero.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, I felt that way because, like, I always looked up Jennifer Hale, and I had this whole story that I don't think I should tell on here because it was very embarrassing. But it led to us becoming friends. It was a very embarrassing... I'll tell it. I'll just tell it.
Okay. I have no problem with you embarrassing yourself on my show. Gather around, folks.
Well, because I've said it... I think I told it before in a couple of other podcasts, and it's one of those things where it's like, did that really happen? And why did that happen? So we went to a con together. She was invited as a guest at a con, and I was the same con as well. So I brought all of my Mass Effect games for her to sign.
Nice.
And I was like, I was thinking to myself, you're going to be on panels with her. Why are you bringing stuff that you should have her sign when you're going to be on all these panels with her and get to know her? And I'm like, I don't care. I'm just going to bring them anyway. And so when I went up to her autograph table, I pretty much wanted to say, thank you for inspiring me to get into voice acting. I actually first heard her in the first Metal Gear Solid when she was Naomi Hunter. I keep saying Campbell. I don't know why. But she was on there, and I started following her career ever since that game. And I just wanted to say, in like a very brief message, thank you so much for inspiring me to become, to kind of get into this field and go through the hurdles and like the whole crazy stuff of trying to get in this field. And that's what I was trying to say. But like, it came out the complete opposite. I was like, oh my gosh, I love you. You're like my biggest. You're like my waifu for Laifu. I remember that. I remember that.
Waifu for Laifu.
My waifu for Laifu. I said that right in front of her face.
Oh, God.
And it was one of those things where it's like, did I just say that? Why did I say that? And it was like impulsive, pretty much.
And was this before you met her at any other point in the con, or?
This is like before I met her. Well, we had a panel together, and I just tried to hold in my fangirlisms. And I was like, oh my gosh, she's like sitting next to my friends that are on the same panel, and I was trying to hold in, and it just didn't turn out well when I went to her autograph table. And so later on that day, a friend of mine kind of calmed me down around her by just kind of coaching me how to talk to her, because I couldn't talk to her at that point. I was like thinking, she was laughing really weird when I said waifu for life. I think she probably hates me, thinks I'm weird, and I brought all my games. I was like, why would I do that? So we talked a little bit with my friend as assistants, and she was pretty much, like, every time I almost stepped out of line, she'll give me a look. My friend would give me a look like, don't do that. Nope, don't even think about doing that. It's like, okay, fine. It's hard.
Rein it in.
Yeah. So after a couple of hours, actually after a few hours, really, I started to calm down a little bit, but that fangirl thing was still there, but it was kind of itching to kind of say more stuff, and I'm like, nope, don't say it. Ignore it. And so later on that day, she's like, well, I do a lot of, like, rock climbing, not rock climbing, like, serious rock climbing, but, like, the little rock climbing rooms where you could just kind of, like, do, like, rock climbing simulation.
Where they're all, like, different colors and, yeah.
Yeah, like the little colored pebbles that you can kind of climb on, that kind of thing.
Okay.
So she was asking me where I lived. I said, well, I live in Los Angeles. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Me too. Do you want me to give you my number, and then we could exchange numbers? And I'm like, she's not doing this right now. after what I told her, she's not doing this right now. And so she gave me her number.
Clearly you'd hit your head and passed out, and this was all a dream sequence.
Yeah, that's what I felt. I'm like, this is a dream, because anyone that says waifu for life, there's no way you could just say, hey, I'm going to give you my phone number. No. So I actually tested the number to see if it was real, because I thought it was a dummy number. I'm like, it's going to be a dummy number. I know it. So let me try and test it. The worst thing that could happen is somebody else on the other line, where it's like, oh, no, who's Jennifer? It's like, I was thinking of that. I called her up. She's like, oh, hey, how you doing? It's like, oh, my gosh, it's her. And I said, is this Jennifer? It's like, yeah, this is Danielle. I'm like, yeah. It's like, oh, hey, sweetie. It's like, she gave me her number. Like, I can't believe this. And, like, well, fast forward a couple of years later, we're really best friends now. We're really good friends. I talk to her almost every once in a while, like, pretty much almost a couple times a week, just to, like, ask for advice from her, because she has a lot of great advice about life, and she's amazing. But all of that from an awkward conversation, like, that's weird.
Well,
that was a weird
must have endeared.
kind of transition.
It must have endeared you to her, I guess.
Yeah.
Like that. It is interesting because I find, from the fan perspective, it's always, oh God, I don't want to embarrass myself. Oh God, they must, they'll judge me. They'll think, God, what? Look at this, you're pathetic. But from the person when you're approached by a fan who is very excited, you don't think of them that way at all.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And of course, neither does the actor that Jennifer or the actors that you look up to, and it doesn't make it any easier though knowing that still when the moment comes you're still going to freak out inside, and it's this awkward kind of energy exchange thing where I guess the best thing to do is just be incredibly reassuring and down to earth and cool, like I'm sure you would be. It's like it is flattering, but it is quite awkward in a way.
It's very awkward. It's an awkward adventure, I'll call it.
Yes.
So I didn't see it that way until Jennifer told me, well, like, remember the time when you freaked out? She recalled to me when I freaked out to her, that's what it was. Remember when you freaked out to me and you were saying, like, thank you, and she asked me, like, what's that thing you said? It's like, oh, waifu for life. It's like, oh yeah, you said that. Like, that was memorable to me. And I'm like, really? It's like, yeah, that made me laugh, but I can't forget you. It's like, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, and she can't forget they said waifu for life.
Well,
so,
the fact that you're friends with her now, I'd imagine it's a good thing.
Yeah.
But really, that's a good point. Being memorable when you're interacting with someone at an autograph line or whatever, that is something that goes through a lot of people's heads. Like I've had friends of mine when they're going to conventions, like, what do I say to make X celebrity here remember me? That's a very important thing. And some of them, you want it to be remember you in a funny way. You want to make them laugh as you did, rather than I remember that person because they peed themselves while they were that's memorable, but not in the good way. But yeah, that's it is nice to get that kind of, I guess, feedback, to be told, yeah, no, I remembered you because of that. It feels the validation of that is very good, which would be funny for Jennifer, I'd imagine, because she sounds like a lovely person, and so, like all of those lovely people, I imagine it's hard to get used to people looking up to you that much.
Yeah, because it is a responsibility. Like, I didn't really realize that kind of mindset. I didn't have that mindset until like a couple of years ago. It's like these people like kind of look up to you, and you have to be very careful what you say and what you do, because it's almost like whatever you do that's wrong or whatever, it's a huge responsibility. Like, it's crazy. And we kind of think of it as voice actors, we're just doing a funny voice and we're doing a good job, but there's people out there, when they watch these shows or play these games, it goes deeper than that. It's like they have an actual bond, this connection with this character. Like if I'm playing like a video game, depending on how many hours they play this game with this character, it's like they form a bond. And so when they meet you, it's like, it's really weird to experience it, but you kind of understand, like, these people kind of see the character as like an actual entity, if that makes sense. Like like something they kind of like got to know, and I don't know. It's what's weird. It's a very weird transition. I still can't get used to it.
And it's hard to understand even when you experience it from both ends. Then, because I guess there's nothing quite so surreal as being I guess idolized, or even if it's just in a moment, and Yeah, it's definitely a good thing, but a strange thing.
Oh yeah.
So, okay.
Like it's almost out of body, kind of, in a way.
Yeah, like that's a good way to describe it, because like with a character level, it's out of body insofar as, they're looking up to the character, and so they're looking up to you through that character, and that's trippy.
Yeah, it's very trippy.
Wow, I
didn't really think about it until we just talked about it.
That is tougher.
Really
yeah, that is tougher than I would have thought. And it depends on. Well, I guess it would depend on the character too, because the way that you look up to an actor playing a hero would be different to the way you look up to an actor playing a villain. Mm-hmm. Because if you're playing if you're playing someone like Karma, who is a playable character, a champion, someone that's good. Then it would be more straightforward, but people admire villainous characters for different reasons. It's like, you were really entertaining as much as I wanted to punch you in the face, or, you were awful and did horrible things, and I admire the performance, but God, I hated your piece of shit character.
I actually got something like that, so I worked on, and I'm still working on, I'm working with a team called Team 4-Star, a group called Team 4-Star.
Oh, yes.
For Helsing Ultimate Bridge.
If a listener has not heard of Team 4-Star, I'm amazed, but fair enough.
Yes, they are very sweet human beings and very hilarious. Like, working with them is like, it doesn't feel like a job, it feels like I'm just playing in a little sand pit and just playing with them for hours.
Absolutely.
But, so I voiced Zorn Blitz. She's like this angry German, like Nazi vampire weird thing. And I've gotten people saying, I hate your character, but your performance made me love to hate your character. Stuff like that. It's really, it's weird. Like it's weird. I can't even put my head around it.
Yeah. It's one of the higher compliments you can get, and I like that. That's the good kind of feedback to give a villain, because I hear stories like the ones that I don't like. Do you watch Game of Thrones?
I watched quite a bit of it. I think the first season. I haven't even touched the second season yet, sadly.
Or the third, fourth, fifth, or sixth. But
oh yeah.
So Joffrey, the little blonde kid, played by Jack Gleason, his character is, of course, an awful, disgusting person, and he's played so brilliantly by an actor who, if you look at his, if you listen to him in panels or interviews or whatever, it's just this bright and very, very pleasant guy. But he gets, or there's stories going around of him getting not abuse, but like hate and like mild harassment for playing such a horrible character that everyone hates, and the other actors kind of rallying and saying, hey, leave him alone. That kind of thing is, the kind of like the dark side of it. Whereas, if a villain is awful, that is a good thing about the actor, not a bad thing. And I think for fans of the voice industry, I think are more likely to respond in that good way that you received than the horrible way of what happened to him. Because Jeffrey Dean Morgan in this season of The Walking Dead, I don't know if you watched that show.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's probably the best example.
Exactly. But
he's doing such a great job though. But it's like, wow.
There's some talk about that. There's some talk about, like, on the Walking Dead Reddit, I saw people saying, is Jeffrey Dean Morgan being too theatrical? And my response is no, because every time he does that, and the fact that every line he delivers is over the top, is because right now he's in control of every single step, and he's having fun. When that mask of his, when that, when those theatrics break, and they will, it is going to be very powerful. And I look forward to that. So, yeah, I have absolute faith in that guy and the role he's playing. It's brilliant. But, yeah, that's a good example. I'm hoping that Walking Dead fans are, love to hate with him. I know that fans of the comics, because Negan's been around for 4 years in the comics, Negan is one of the most popular characters. You get a popularity poll, and he rates higher than, most of the heroes, and he's still a bastard, but everyone loves him because he's one of the most brilliantly crafted bastards in comics right now. And, so hopefully he gets the good kind of feedback.
I hope so, too.
Speaking of comics, another one of my bonus questions. Marvel or DC?
I really love Marvel. I don't hate DC, but I feel like I can relate more to Marvel and a lot of the characters and a lot of stories.
Yeah.
Especially like X-Men, like almost every mutant I can totally relate to.
Absolutely. X-Men's my X-Men's my big thing. I never watched the 90s series, but I watched Evolution. I think that was just because of when I was, growing up. That was the one that was on.
Mm-hmm. I binge watched that. So when I found that, I think that was, it was on Netflix. Hopefully it's still on there. But I binge watched like a lot of the episodes in just one sitting, and I'm like, this show, I need the DVD right now of this show.
Right.
If there is one.
Okay, so we are running out of time, so I will ask my final bonus question that I'm so looking forward to. I intend to ask every actor I get on this show this bonus question. Can you do an Australian accent?
Oh my god. I have a really bad one. Like, I'm really
that is fine.
Thinking about going to see like a dialect coach just so I can do it, because like I've been getting a lot of auditions for like Australian characters. I'm like, I can't do that accent without feeling like I'm offending someone.
I will say, only one American voice actor has ever fooled me with a convincing Australian accent before. Some of them might have, if I didn't already know who they were, kind of thing. Like, there's a few actors who can do it absolutely perfectly, but because I follow voice actors, I'm like, hey, I know who you are, and then that breaks it. The only time I have ever legitimately thought that an actress was Australian right up until I learned that they weren't was Rachel Robinson in Final Fantasy XIII.
I was just thinking about her.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I was just thinking about her.
She was amazing. Like, and I mean Georgia Van Kuylenberg as well, but she is Australian, so that isn't a fool. That's just her being her. But yeah, Rachel, I was completely taken in. There were probably 2 moments in that game in which she slipped, and at the time I would have thought, no, that's just because, I mean, hell, my accent slips sometimes, and I've lived here all my life. Accents are fluid. So, yeah, that... I hope to one day speak to her on this show if I can, because, I wouldn't ask her that question.
She's a sweetheart.
Absolutely.
She's a sweetheart. I can totally see her saying yes to going on your show. She's...
fantastic.
She's a very beautiful person.
But yeah, other than her, it's never happened to me before. So yeah, it could be as stereotypical and outrageous as you like. Those are fun. It can be an attempt as realistic.
I'm not gonna do Outback Steakhouse. That is like the worst. Like, no. Like, that's like, no. But I'll try something. It's okay. Oi, mate, how you doing? That's not good.
The oi, mate was fine. The how you doin' went a bit off.
That went south, yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's degrees, because, I mean, I don't sound like, the awkward, like, yeah, how's it going, mate? Yeah. That sort of nasally...
See, I was thinking of, like, Outback Steakhouse, and this is why I'm afraid of, of like, trying an Australian accent without a dialect coach. It's like, no, it's Outback Steakhouse.
It's a hard
or
one
Foster's.
To do, but I feel like... technically speaking, most accents are hard to do when confronted with a native speaker who knows exactly the ins and outs of it. Like, I pride myself on picking out Australian accents, but that's not because I'm good at it, that's just because I've lived here. Like, I'm sure a French person would be able to spot a fake French accent from a mile away.
Yeah. Like, well, if you asked me to do Russian, I could do that no problem. Like, oh, you want me to do something?
Go right ahead.
Okay. I drink vodka. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It's great. It keeps me warm, and it's good.
До свидания. Yeah. Is that hello or goodbye or something? That's goodbye.
I think
it's goodbye.
Oh, I forgot. I totally forgot.
Look, I'll be honest, my Russian accents come from playing Command & Conquer Red Alert, which is not a good source. Not a good source at all. Although Tim Curry was amazing in Red Alert 3.
Oh.
I'm escaping to the one place that hasn't been corrupted by capitalism. Space! You can sit, like, obviously the Command & Conquer games use the FMV, like, live action, and you can see him struggling not to laugh when he delivers that ridiculous line.
Oh my God.
It's a 12-second clip on YouTube, and he's just like, the pause between capitalism and space, he just goes... and he's just about to lose it, which, for an actor of his caliber, it must have been a very ridiculous game to work on.
Oh, Yes.
Oh, but ridiculous in the good way. All right, I will wrap us up here because we've gotten a lot of good material, and thank you very much for joining me. This has been a lot of fun. Actually, yeah, what stuff do you have that you can plug? Have you got stuff coming out that you can talk about that you've been in?
Ooh, I have stuff, but I can't talk about them yet, unfortunately. But I can talk about my Overwatch podcast with my friend Aaron Fitzgerald called waifusofOverwatch.com. That's a pretty cool place.
Yes. All right, and I will put links to your Twitter and Facebook and all that lovely stuff in the post with this episode, so anyone who wants to follow what Danielle is doing, go to those places. And yes, listen to the podcast if you're an Overwatch fan. I'm sure it's going to be an excellent place to get insight from some hopeless Overwatch addicts. From what I have seen, it's really quite a serious case.
Oh yeah, it's kind of scary how serious it is.
I swear, if my computer runs it this weekend, I will be right there with you before too long, because it sounds like the kind of game that just hooks you in straight away, so we shall see.
Awesome.
I'm almost hoping that my computer breaks when I try to run it, just to save me from the time sink. But
it's like, no, don't play this game.
Right? But, I'm still going to try. Because I have no sense of self-preservation. Alright, I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you so much for joining me. Stay tuned. I look forward to taking this journey with a bunch of wonderful people. And, yeah, it's been great. So long, fare thee well.
Bye-bye.